Thank you. We welcome the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Scarrett, who's looking very cheerful this morning. We also have with us a number of members of the Cabinet. Welcome to all of you. The Cabinet Secretary, Ms. Karine Prevost, the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Mrs. Missy Henderson, as well as valuable partners, or partners, the members of the media. Welcome everyone. To those of you tuned in via various media, welcome to what we think will be the last press conference of the Prime Minister for the year, so this one takes on some added significance. So I've heard from Carlisle and Curtis that they're eager to go. They're raring to go, but before we get into their questions, we will take opening remarks from the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Scarrett.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone, and happy to see you here as a press. I was about to ask for Mark, but I saw that you walked in. We're happy to have all of you present. I want to again welcome this opportunity to address the current issues of our country and to speak directly to the people of Dominica, and of course take the questions from the press who are present. I wish all of you here, and of course those tuned in, a wonderful Christmas filled with joy, happiness, and God's blessings. May God continue to bless us all as we enter 2024. I first would like to share some views on the Guyana-Venezuela meeting. As you're aware, in my capacity as the chairman of CARICOM, I joined Dr. Raul Gonzalez, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines and the current chair of CELAC, in facilitating a meeting between the presidents of Guyana and Venezuela on Thursday last week. The meeting was called to address the territorial controversy between the two countries, and I'm happy to report that it was a most fruitful dialogue, which resulted in key points of agreement between the two parties. Both sides have agreed that there will be no threat of force in any circumstances, and that the controversies between the two states will be resolved in accordance with international law. There was further agreement that the dialogue would continue on matters of mutual interest between the two countries, and they would refrain from escalating any further conflict or disagreement. This, of course, is a result we were hoping for, and I think the heads who participated all left the meeting satisfied with the efforts of CELAC and CARICOM to mediate these talks and reach an amicable solution. We are also grateful that the two leaders consented in good faith to the dialogue, and that we were able to issue the joint declaration for dialogue and peace between Guyana and Venezuela. I believe this speaks to the strength and importance of CARICOM as a regional bloc, acting as an effective mediator in times of conflict or disagreement. We remain committed to avoiding tensions and maintaining peace in our region. As CARICOM chair, I was happy to play a role in facilitating the successful meeting between Guyana, a member of CARICOM and a friend of Dominica, and Venezuela, which we all know has also proven itself to be a true friend of our country, Dominica. I wish the government and people of both countries well. I wish to once again extend my deepest condolences, and on behalf of the government and people of Dominica, to the family of the late Dr. Carissa Etienne, who passed away earlier this month. Dr. Etienne was a monumental figure in public health care here in Dominica, in the region, and globally. She made a mark as director of the Pan American Health Organization for 2 terms, and served also in key leadership roles with the World Health Organization. As an advocate for universal health coverage, she was particularly effective and inspiring for her work in reducing health inequalities and increasing people-centered care, as well as for leading POWER's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the Zika and chikungunya epidemics. We all remember Dr. Etienne led Dominica to a place of distinction in the provision of primary health care to our citizens. She was very much involved in the primary health care program in the 80s. As a matter of fact, that's how I got to know her back in the 80s, through my aunt, who also was a nurse. Among Dominicans, I think she'll be remembered best for her work at the local level as a physician and public health administrator, and certainly for her kindness, warmth, and love for people. The government of Dominica has been in contact with Dr. Etienne's family, informing them of a cabinet decision to grant her an official funeral in honor of her outstanding contribution to Dominica and the world. Details of this will be shared with the public at a later date. The government of Dominica and I personally are shocked and saddened by this occurrence, the murder of Daniel and Dominic, who were true friends of Dominica, who contributed much to our country's development, particularly in the Soufriere-Scottshead area. Through their efforts, many were provided with jobs, and the example of sustainable development served as inspiration for us all in our pursuit of energy independence and a climate resilience agenda. Their generosity to Dominica and its people knew no bounds. After Hurricane Maria, Daniel established Res DM to help Dominica increase resilience and self-sustainability, rebuilt the Soufriere Primary School, and constructed the Scottshead Jetty. Coolibee Ridge is a globally recognized off-the-grid luxury hotel, which I know was Dominic and Daniel's pride and joy, and also a source of pride for us all. I was very happy that the government was able to recognize the contribution of Daniel to our country during our independence celebration this year with a national award. We stand in solidarity with their families and loved ones, as well as the people of Soufriere, Scottshead, and Gallia, who were shattered by the deaths. I commend the Dominica Police for their professional approach to the investigations thus far. I have every confidence in the justice system to administer this matter fairly and above board. I have seen no evidence so far to the contrary, and I believe all involved have acted within the confines of the law and with the highest degree of integrity. I urge us all to be level-headed in our discussions of this matter. Let us avoid wild speculations and the spreading of false information, which can do more harm than good. I've also directed that a special prosecutor be brought in to help prosecute this case and to ensure greater possibility of success in prosecution. May their soul rest in peace. As we end the year, I believe it is fitting to provide an update on the single most important and largest infrastructural project in Dominica's history. Work on the international airport has advanced rapidly over the past months. Mobilization works commenced in earnest with the arrival of the shipment of construction equipment earlier this year. Since then, the clearing of the almost over 500 acre site and the development of roads have been completed. Various soil disposal sites are also complete. Mobilization is about 99% advanced with the completion of accommodations, offices, workshops, storage facilities, utilities, and the concrete mixing plant. The asphalt mixing plant and crusher are currently being worked on. We are now entering a phase where you will begin to see focus on runway development, with work commencing on the primary runway, which we utilize for both takeoff and landing. The geotechnical work, which commenced last year, is moving along with the earthworks. More than 50% of the planned 600 boreholes have been completed. A key component of the platform development is the management of the water and waterways on the site. To this end, up to 5 major culverts have been identified to ensure that this will be done safely. The major design updates requested for the terminal building have been made. These updates are in response to feedback received from review sessions conducted with the International Air Transport Association and American Airlines. The main changes will provide increased capacity as well as flexibility of the apron parking. Changes were also made within the terminal to increase the capacity of the gate seating area in the departure lounge to improve both the arriving and departing passenger experience. We continue to meet with major airlines and keep them updated about the project development, as well as the interim developments at the Douglas Charles Airport. Most recently, discussions were held with executives of air cargo provider Amerijet and GlobalX to review our cargo handling prospects, as well as to explore the capabilities of the soon completed Douglas Charles extension. The international airport is among several major projects in the works for Dominica, which will all have the potential to transform and sustain our country's economy. In the new year, we will see continued progress on the cable car project, which is rapidly advancing in the Roseau Valley, and commencement of the Cabris Marina in Portsmouth. The Parliament recently approved a loan from the Saudi Fund to continue infrastructure rehabilitation in the city of Roseau. We expect works to commence in 2024. The Roseau Enhancement Project is no doubt a highly anticipated project for all of us in Dominica. You will hear much more about these and other major initiatives in the coming weeks. In respect to geothermal, there has been some major developments with the signing of several agreements, among them being one with OMAT, the company which will invest in the construction of the geothermal plant. Government has already secured the funding for the new transmission lines from Loda to Fokole, and of course more details on the geothermal project will be given in the coming days as we go to Parliament on December 29, and of course reports will be given at that opportunity. In respect to the Loubier to Bacatel Road, you should expect the announcement of an award of a contract to reconstruct the Loubier to Bacatel Road very soon, with works expected to commence in the first quarter of 2024. The construction cost of the road will stand in excess of $170 million, with the majority of funds coming from the government of the United Kingdom, and the government of Dominica contributing approximately $65 million of that total. Works on the Emerald Pool to Pigwa is moving along very well. Expected completion is in June 2024, and of course, I say to my friends in the Carnival Territory and at Kingston, please bear with us for the next couple of months. But once completed, you will experience the same joy and excitement that the people of Cassibros are now singing. They themselves haven't gone through similar inconveniences. But the reality is, you cannot progress if we have no inconvenience. But once it's completed, we'll certainly be happy about it. I will end here, because as I understand it, that you have come all get up. I was hoping that you have brought a ham for me instead of questions, but maybe after the questions, I may get a ham from you, the press. Thank you very much.
All right, Carlisle, members of the media, be mindful that today is Cabinet Day, so let's keep it tight. Also, if you could each stand to pose your questions, identify yourself and your media organization. Carlisle.
Child News. I thought you said we're going to be there until 4 o'clock. You're talking about cabinet. We'll remember, it's the last press conference before the year ends. So, right, PM? Oh, okay. See, I have a book today. All right, Prime Minister, please give an appraisal of the COP28 meeting that you attended, given that you said before that you were hoping that it was not going to be another talk shop. This is one of my questions. The other one is, why are Dominicans not enjoying CBI money like St. Kitts? So this is the first two bullets for now.
COP28, I may not be as excited as the Minister for the Environment and his team. You know, the reality is there were some advances made. but those advances are all still in the form of promises. This is over 30 years we've been negotiating an understanding of what needs to be done to address the issue of climate change. The cause of it, but also the impact of it on those who are suffering the brunt of it. That is to say, countries like ourselves in the Caribbean, the Pacific, and Africa. Every COP, there is a promise made of some new pot of money to us. But the reality is, those monies are not being seen or materialized, or we have no access to it. One of the major movements at COP28 was the pledging of the loss and damage fund to the fund. Not a significant amount was pledged in relation to what is required. And really this is to seek to operationalize the Paris Accord of 2015. It's what I'm saying. So it is left to us to see the when and the how. When will we start accessing those funds? And how will we start accessing those funds? There is a debate still going on as to where those funds should be deposited into, who should manage those funds, and on what conditions you're going to be managing those funds. The reality is, the developed world must understand that they have caused damage to us. And in any country, if you cause damage to somebody, you have to compensate the person. And this is clear. My concern with regards to the actions which developed countries are taking, because climate change now is impacting on them directly now. They're getting hurricanes, they're getting storms, they're getting frequent fires. They are taking action and they're making funds available. But those funds are to mitigate against climate change in their countries and not ours. And the reality is this: when we started discussing about funding to mitigate against climate change, it was always in the form of grants. Now, people talking about loans, people talking about private sector funding. There's no private sector who is going to build a sea defense wall for you if you're going to pay them. There's no private sector who's going to build a river defense wall if you're not going to pay them. There's no private sector who's going to replace all the bridges that have been destroyed by the successive hurricanes if you're going to pay them. And what is the interest rate to pay private sector? What's the cost to citizens? So whatever monies that have been made available should not impact on our debt to GDP ratio. And so therefore it's important for the developed world to assist in defining the when and the how. So yes, there's some movement. I don't want to be completely pessimistic because that's not my personality. But I treat things in a pragmatic manner. And the reality is, the developed world is not as sincere as they purport to be in their speeches. Because we have seen what's happened, how much money have gone to Ukraine to fight wars and so forth. And so if you have the same level of zeal and commitment and eagerness to help us, you could do it. You can do it. And I think that my view is that we should really, and there's a movement, go to the ICJ to get an advisement on who's responsible and indicate the framework of compensation. As I've said to some developed countries who I met, who I continue to meet, every time I meet them I say so, for us to see any practical movement on compensation or support to us to build resilience and mitigation against climate change, we have to do a couple of things. One, it has to be rules-based, similar to what obtains in the WTO. That if you fail to provide us, then there'll be some fines. unless it is a legally binding agreement, as it is now is goodwill. And you don't, when you have an accident, Carla, if a guy, you call the police. You take statements. And the guy, you go to your insurance. The guy insurance pays you if the guy is wrong. And so we have determined who is causing the impact of climate change, the developed world. And so a lot rests now with the G20, not only the G7 but the G20, because the countries who are responsible, who are not part of G7, to assist us with the financial resources. Dominica, in our case, we have a strategy, we have a plan. If we get the money, we can implement a number of resilience actions and mitigation and so forth. So there has been some movement, and I give credit to the leadership of the UAE, the presidency of the UAE, of COP28, and also the president of COP27 from Egypt, who really pushed behind the scenes to get us to agree with this commitment. So there's been some movement, but the key questions will be when and how, and this is the issue that we have to look at.
So just before you take the second one, so on a scale of 1 to 10, where will you rate that meeting, sir?
I don't want to give it I will give that rating. I will give that rating. All I'm saying is that there's been some movement, but not to the extent that we would have liked, and so forth. And the reality is, my position is that we need to, as global leaders, we need to have a political discussion on climate change. You see what I'm saying? Because the reality is there are some actions which the developed world must take and should take, but their political realities in their countries may not allow them to take it. You see what I'm saying? And I'm a practical person and so forth. So we need to have that kind of conversation, rather than a bunch of scientists and researchers coming to COP and we spend 4 weeks in COP. We should really be spending 1 day, half a day, to discuss actions that we will take and have a commitment to it, allow us sign some agreements to it, and get the monies to the developing world to mitigate against the impact of climate change. Because it's rough, it's costing us money. 85% of our national debt in Dominica now is because to respond to natural disasters. And every time a natural disaster happens, I have to be running 2 countries at the same time. Rebuilding Dominica and sustaining the goods and services that we have to provide to our citizens. And just imagine how much we have had to spend to replace bridges, replace roads that we just built, the thousands of homes that we built, the thousands of homes that we had to provide financial support to. And which allows me to delve into your question about the CBI. There is no country in the world, and I say so without any fear of contradiction, no country in the world where its citizens have benefited more from the Citizenship by Investment Program. None. No country in the world. There's no country in the world who can show you visible signs of the Citizenship by Investment Program than in Dominica. You go to Bellevue Shopping, 382 homes constructed, new water system. You go to Center in Granby, where over 100 homes are being built. You go to Castle Bruce and Santovay, that on a home, the average cost of a home is $350,000. That's what I'm giving to Dominicans. $350,000 asset that belongs to them, that they can bequeath to their children. So we have taken people out of poverty by simply handing over key to them. People who had no money, no land, no house, who have a house. When you look at the hundreds of $millions we spent in giving people new roofs over their heads, the average Dominican got about $60,000 after the hurricane to fix their roofs and fix their homes. The amount of the millions that we've put at the aid bank at 2% and 1% and 0% interest for manufacturing, for agriculture, for small business. I went to a business operator a couple months ago, and he's expanding. And he said to me, Prime Minister, you know, I got $2 million from the fund that he put at the aid bank to help me do this. And the infrastructure that we have done, 14 or so new health centers, a new hospital, and the list goes on and on. Students studying overseas, the National Employment Program, $60 million every year, $5 million every month. And you can see the impact on employment in the communities, providing care to our seniors at the homes, keeping our country clean and beautiful, in many communities immaculate. You talk about my constituency, this place is so clean. You know, you can sit anywhere on the side of the road in my constituency and have your lunch or dinner. You can even propose along the roadside in my constituency, and you adorned with plants, beautiful plants. You know, you see, Curtis has gone past. I encourage Curtis, and he has listened to me, and now he's on Matt. So when you look at the investments in this, it's unparalleled. And we're building our airport with the funds that will create opportunities and sustain opportunities for farmers, for manufacturers, for hoteliers, and to help transform the economy. The investment that we made in geothermal, every dollar the government has put into the geothermal thus far, funds from the Citizenship by Investment Program, to ensure that we have energy security, to ensure that we can reduce the cost of energy to our consumers, and to propel more investment into our country. So the list can go on and on, providing support to people to get specialized care overseas. Tens of millions of dollars we spent over the years on this. So I can advise countries on how best to use CBI funds, including the European countries that have such programs.
You said you've done a lot, but a lot of people are still saying they still do not have the certificate of title, which has been promised to them for a while now, and they're still asking about that.
But there's a committee to get it, and they'll certainly get it. If you have 382 residences in one locality, for example, you cannot just give somebody a title. You must have boundaries, so every one of those have to be re-surveyed. You know, you have a limit, you have a small survey team. We've had to engage private surveyors to assist us in surveying. So we have to survey every one of those areas. And then you have to go through the legal process, through the Attorney General's office. Then it has to go to the President's office because all state lands are vested with the President. Then it has to go, after that it has to go to the registry so that you can get a title. So it is not only an expensive undertaking, but it's also an expansive undertaking and very extensive undertaking. So the commitment is there. And that commitment is cast in stone, and no government can change it. So people will get their titles, but some have already started getting. But it will be some process in there. But they have a firm commitment from the government on this. And you know, every promise I make, I keep it. So in terms of why are Dominicans not benefiting, you should be asking, because I'm so scared. Why are Dominicans benefiting so much from the CBI program in Dominica? Why are you giving so much out? And why are you giving somebody a house for free? It's $350,000. Shouldn't they pay $100,000 for that? And I've seen the transformation of people's lives. Children can study in peace, and senior citizens, you know, can no longer feel the coldness of the breeze, especially in this time. They're warm, and I have seen people's life extended because they're in a comfortable place. And so the list can go on and on with how we have spent the CBI program. So. But time will not permit us. That's just a summary to my response and so on. But at some other time, I can give an expose.
Prime Minister Skerrit, good morning to you. Curtis Matthew from DBS Radio. I will ask 3 questions in this round. The first question is, you have stated, Prime Minister Skerrit, that you will intervene in a long-standing impasse between the Dominica Air and Seaport Authority and longshoremen and stevedores. That long-standing matter dates back to about 24 years ago, when they lost salaries by about 33%, and 108 employees being affected. Can you tell us whether you've taken any action at all to at least see an end to this matter? Second question, you have also stated that the police chief, Daniel Carbon, would proceed on retirement at the end of this year. Is that still on course? And if so, who is going to be his replacement? And the final question would be, can you confirm whether we're going to be having an increase in water rates in the new year? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There was a meeting scheduled yesterday with the union representing the stevedores, but unfortunately I had to postpone it. You know, my aunt was away for a little while. I hadn't seen her, so I took up the time to go to Vegas to see her for a short moment and have some coffee with her yesterday. So I decided to give that priority. And, you know, she's 75 years old, and she's my wonderful aunt. So I believe I'm meeting them tomorrow. So I think I have a meeting tomorrow with them, and also the port, so that, because they were supposed to report back to me as to what is a reasonable request. You understand? And this is without prejudice engagement, because the matter is still before the court system to deal with. So this is me using my good offices to seek to find a resolution to this. And so I look forward to having that conversation with them tomorrow, I believe tomorrow, yeah. And to hear from them, and then of course subsequently to hear from the port authorities, the board management. What do you think about the request of the union representing them? I must say that we've had some very respectful engagement with the union, and I applaud the leadership of the union for that. But the people who I heard, they do see me yesterday, the top fellas, and I look forward to seeing them tomorrow, and so I can hear from them there and so on. The other question regards to the police chief, Mr. Daniel Carbon, will proceed on pre-retirement leave at the end of December, based on the extension that was given to him. I am not in the position to say to the public who will act through police. Obviously, I have to consult the leader of opposition. I don't think it's fair for me to make a statement publicly before consulting. And secondly, of course, the president will have to be informed as well before I will make any statement on this. So, with respect to the office of the leader of opposition and the president, I will not make public comments on that. With regards to water rates, as I indicated some months ago, that we have a proposal from DOASCO to increase the water rates and the sewage rates. The reality is, it is, based on what DOASCO is saying to us, it is costing them more than they're bringing in. But whatever increase in rates, it will not be a dramatic increase. For example, you may be paying, let's say, $21 for the first 1,000 gallons. It may go up to what, Grant? $22. So it maybe just be a $1 increase. You understand what I'm saying? But the cabinet is still giving consideration to it. We have sent some questions back to UASCO to respond to us, because when they do a calculation of how much revenue the government is bringing in, it's a little bit high to what they need. And what we're going to be doing, and I'll make it very clear or direct on that, is that whatever the increase is going to be, whatever they need to run DOASCO properly, they'll use, and the difference is going to go into a special account that they'll have access to in the event of an impact on the water system. But it won't be for DOASCO to sign checks and do what they want to do. Because every time there's a storm, the government has to find monies to pay. And I've given DOASCO in my years as Prime Minister serious money. And in grant form, they don't pay us off. I don't think they pay the rent where they are and so on. And they're charging us for standpipes that we don't have. We charge us standpipes, you know. They charge us over standpipes. We wanted $249 per standpipe. And when I look at the number of standpipes they're charging us for, we don't have half of those standpipes. So they have to factor that in terms of the revenues, and so that we do not pass any dramatic increase on the consumers. But there's a report done by, and I can make a report public, there was a report done by the CDB on Duasco, and CDB was recommending, or is recommending in the report, that we increase the water rates by 41%, by 41%, and the sewerage by 61 combined. So 41%, but I don't think we will go with that 41% in one fell swoop. I believe with a small increase and with greater efficiency and cutting down on discretionary spending, I think the little increase that we'll put on the consumer will be sufficient to help Duasco meet its obligations. Because as it's now, the central government is paying Duasco's loans for it, and that has to stop, because we need the money for other things. And I think it's only fair that consumers pay a little something to raise the revenues for Duasco. So it won't be anything significant to negatively impact the consumers. And even in the Rosos, New Roso South and Roso North and the city, where you have both water and sewage rates, we may not increase the sewage rates for the domestic consumers, so that they don't get a double whammy. You understand? So all of these things we're looking at to mitigate the impact on the consumers in terms of their pockets. Okay. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Mark Thursday, Q95. A few questions. Where is the comprehensive plan for the airport? How much money has been expended to MMC as promised? And why is government front-loading money? Where is the electoral reform? When is the electoral reform expected? I'm talking about the legislation. Expected to be brought before Parliament. And my final question, I live in the constituency of Soufriere. I visited there for the past 3 weeks following the, as I say, the gruesome murder of the 2 investors there. A lot of this disappointment. A lot of people are saying, we have not seen the Prime Minister, we have not seen the Tourism Minister, to basically give us comfort. So Prime Minister, what do you have to say to this?
Yeah. Okay. We have certainly provided the comprehensive plan for the airport. In terms of all of there was a public presentation of this, all of the various components of the airport. We've had many discussions on this in the public domain, and there have been several presentations. So it's not true to say that there's no comprehensive plan of the airport. Obviously, a project of that nature, you can go in terms of approvals from planning, you can go on a phase basis, and that's what is being done. That's what has been done for other projects in Dominica as well. And so we are in direct engagement with the planning authority. So there are different things that require planning authority. So there has been a comprehensive plan. The issue of why is government front-loading? Government has not provided MMC with any monies from the Treasury. The only monies from the Treasury that we have used on the airport thus far is from compensation of property owners. It is actually the MMC that has front-loaded the monies, because before they start benefiting from the CBI program, they sign a contract. And so the financial liability is with them and not with the government. So we have never given MMC any monies from the Treasury for the international airport at all. And this is not part of the agreement that we've signed with MMC for the development of the airport. It is actually MMC that has front-loaded the monies on the airport and so forth, which is an extraordinary issue. So this is not true at all. So far, So example, in the financial year 2022-2023, 216 million dollars have been expended on this, with mobilization, purchasing of equipment, etc., with movement and so forth. So $216 million, all of which have been paid by, raised by AMC for the airport. So that's the government who's paying this at all. The electoral reform, we will certainly see the process started in the first quarter of continued rather, because we had consultations continued in the first quarter of 2024. I believe by January, we will be in a position to present to the country the specific elements that we will go with in the first phase to advance electoral reform. And thereafter we will go to Parliament to have the laws enacted and give the Electoral Commission the authority to proceed with the implementation of the various components of electoral reform. So we're certainly committed to that, and so in the first quarter of 2024, you will see advancement in this. In regards to the death of the two individuals, I was out of the country when this happened. I may have been, I believe, at COP28, and I believe, Saudi Arabia. And I immediately made contact with the Minister of National Security, and I indicated to him that we should get the Chief of Police to lead the investigation in the matter, which is an extraordinary matter. And the Chief of Police has assigned, in his estimation, the best investigator the country has at the disposal of the police at this time to investigate the matter. I also, while out, convened a meeting with the Minister of National Security, the Permanent Secretary of National Security, the Permanent Secretary of Foreign Affairs, and the Chief of Police, who I instructed to make immediate and direct contact with the Canadian High Commissioner and to seek the assistance of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to help investigate the matter. And we have been in touch, the police rather had been in touch with the liaison, as a matter of fact, the liaison officer who is based in Barbados came to Dominica to help us assist with the investigation. I can also say to you that they are also seeking advice and support from the RCMP based in Canada to help investigate the matter. In less than 12 hours of this crime taking place, the police brought in 3 people into custody. And some hours later, a 4th person was taken into custody. And in less than 72 hours, charges were proffered on 2 individuals and brought before the magistrate court and are in remand at the state prison. So these are some actions that we've taken. But let me also, because you asked me a question, let me address some of the falsehoods that people are peddling in the public domain. I have known Mr. Langwa since 2004. As a matter of fact, I worked with him on the Humane Society that he led, treating with stray dogs and animals in Dominica. And his office was based somewhere around the Granby bus stop. And I visited him several times. And I visited his construction site when he had the first building. If Yvonne asked if he was then Minister for Tourism, so you can understand how long that was ago. And since then, he and I have had a very close connection. As a matter of fact, we exchanged many plants, and the last plant he gave me about 4 months ago was a Bismarck palm, which I will plant at my residence, my property in Vegas soon. After the hurricane, we worked very well, very closely together, because they required certain approvals and considerations from the Prime Minister to mobilize the resources that they could get in there. And who also gave me contact to a lady who is in charge of managing the property. And I suggested I would like to come, but they indicated that they'd like to meet with me before I visit so that they could share with me certain things. And this is where we are. What I would say to, what I've said to people who are genuinely emotional about the death of Mr. Langwa and his partner, is to disabuse their minds about government could have prevented this. It's just foolishness. You know, it reminds me of the death of Lazarus, when Jesus was called and he came 4 days late. And his sister said, you know, had you been there, my brother wouldn't have died. You know, and for anybody to say that would be justifying the heinous murder of these two people. I think our focus as a country should be on ensuring that the state apparatus is moved to ensure a successful prosecution of those who are responsible for these murders. And some of the people who I hear and I see trying to have meetings this afternoon and tomorrow, these are the same people who used to confront me back in the days, in the early 2000s, who accused me of giving Mr. Langwa their properties in the mountains, and accused me of building roads for Mr. Langwa, etc. The same people. I understand there are people who are genuinely concerned, and so what we'll be doing with the people there is to ensure that the hotel can continue to be operated, and I've given them the assurance that the government will do everything within the law to facilitate whatever request they have, to ensure that the jobs can be sustained and maintained, and the hotel can continue to function in lasting memory of Mr. Langwa and his partner. I try not to speak about those things because that's not my style. But if in this country we have to make everything political, and then we provide the candidate press with all kinds of falsehoods, and that's saying that Mr. Jonathan is a government insider. I only met Jonathan twice at my office, in very early days when he came to Dominica. I've never been to his property. I've never had coffee with him, and people know I love of coffee. If I have coffee with you, yeah, then I have no association with you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So never. I can tell you I had a very close relationship with Mr. Langwa on a number of fronts. As a matter of fact, he was in fact advising me on the solar system to employ at my house and building in Montana, and visited my property about 4 times to advise me. And even on my swimming pool, he's saying to me, move away from chlorine and salt and go the route of copper, because it is low maintenance, low cost, and so forth. So all of the things that he gave me, all of the details of where I could procure the copper stuff and the supplies and the pump and all these things. Give me all of his contacts. He's been to my farm. I give him plants, fruit trees that he has planted on his property. So for people to want to besmirch the government and the country and that's not fair. You know what I'm saying? That's not fair. And if a place is a crime scene, you know, the Prime Minister has to be careful that he don't go in a crime scene and so forth. But I made contact with the days of the staff to engage. But what I do behind the scenes to ensure that the issues go. And the issue of the road, the government has held and continues to hold that the road in question is a public road. But this is a democracy. People keep forgetting that Dominica is a democracy. We have independence of the judicial system. Anybody can go to the courts and move the courts to get the courts to adjudicate on the matter. This is what happens in democracies. So something being in the courts is not a government responsibility. Every citizen has to go, whether you have a case or you don't have a case. This is why now we have to now employ, at the cost of the Treasury, a third judge in Dominica. Because there's so many matters that are going to court in Dominica. We have to employ a third judge in Dominica to move the cases that are sitting in the high courts. You understand? So And I could speak to many other things, but that's not necessary. I've said to some of the folks who I've spoken to who are associated with it, our focus should be, one, ensuring that everything is done to prosecute these people successfully, whoever it is. Two, to ensure that the hotel can continue to run. And three, that we find ways of honoring the legacy and the contribution of Mr. Langworth to Dominica over so many decades. These are the focus questions and responses and so on. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Alia Jajak, Kyrie News. I have 3 questions for you. My first question is that we have seen that there is a lack of manpower in the Dominica police force. How do you plan to collaborate with the police force to spark an interest in young people and solve this problem? My second question is that I'm sure we've all been disheartened by the loss of life from the conflict between Israel and Gaza. And I know that we also have ties, close ties with Israel. How will this affect our relationship with them in the future? And my last question, St. Nicholas Animal Rescue, the only animal rescue in Dominica, has shut down as of last week. And I must say, as the nature isle of the Caribbean, it is not a good look for us that animals are not safe in our country. And they have also informed us that the animal protection law has not been updated since 1935. And the penalty is only $200 for harming an animal. So, does the government plan to assist St. Nicholas Animal Rescue, and how soon can we see an amendment in the animal protection law?
Thank you very much for these questions. In respect to lack of manpower, it is a perennial issue within the police force, because in the police force, you have a special dispensation where police can retire after serving 20 years and be entitled to a pension and a gratuity, unlike public officers who come under different jurisdiction in law, who will have to retire at 55 or 60. You know what I'm saying? So you have that issue there to contend with. And of course, coupled with that, those who would have attained the age of 60 with the police force. I always joke with the police, some of the guys where you see out on the streets, they say they retire. I mean, these guys can still give another 5-10 years. You see what I'm saying? So you have a challenge. I know the minister has some 50-something name, 50-somebody, a number of 50-somebody that the chief of police has sent to him for approval for recruits. So we will see recruit training in the first quarter, starting in the first quarter of next year, to assist with the process. I can tell you part of the challenge you have is that the process of arriving at a recruit now in the police force is more robust than it was 15, 20 or 40 years ago. So while you may have lots of applications, those who make it to the final list, sometimes half of the number who apply because they would have failed certain aspects of the rigorous and robust process of selection. So you have that issue. What we have done in the police force to help address the issue of manpower is to employ a significant number of special constables in the police force. So there are a significant number of special constables who are engaged in a wide range of duties across the police force. Then you have people who are police officers but who are out of the jurisdiction of the police, in various government departments, they're out of the in the region, agencies that the government is associated with, etc., etc. So it's a continued challenge. But there's a firm cabinet decision that has mandated the Ministry of National Security to increase the manpower of police to no less than 600. But that has to go through a process. The last time I the chief of police, I raised a question, and subsequent to that, they submitted some 50-something names for that the chief has approved for training. The issue of the conflict between Israel and Gaza, we have called for a ceasefire in this conflict. You know, anybody who's killed in a conflict is one too many, and of course we have called for a respect for international law. So CARICOM has been issuing statements calling for a ceasefire, calling for the respect of international law, and we believe that, you know, in CARICOM we never for conflicts. This is why we're able to get Venezuela and Guyana together to speak, you know, and we believe that there should be more dialogue in the world, more diplomatic means of resolving issues. We in CARICOM, we do not support wars and killing of innocent people one way or the other, you know. So we continue to urge and to call for a ceasefire and let mediation, let negotiation take place, and of course move to a two-state solution, which is a decision of the United Nations. Okay. I do not know, in regards to St. Nicholas, I do not know of the details of the operations of St. Nicholas and why they would shut down and so forth. I believe that each of us in this country has a responsibility to care for our animals, whether they're ours or they're in the community, and to play our part. And those of us who have animals must treat them properly. You know what I'm saying? And must treat them kindly. You know, so we believe in the human treatment of animals. We know that the laws need to be updated, but even if you have updated laws and people are not respecting it, then you have a challenge. So I think the question of St. Nicholas closing down, I think the question is better placed to them, because the government is not party to this agreement. We have no MOU with St. Nicholas Animal Rescue, etc. I was told that they have a program where they send dogs to the United States under certain conditions I do not know of, etc., etc. So those are questions are better placed with them. But if they wish to collaborate with the government, we are certainly open, and they could reach out to the Minister for Agriculture on those portfolio veterinary services for. I know that St. Nicholas is very well associated with the chief vet, and if they have recommendations, I would suggest that they may want to submit those recommendations to the chief vet, who is very well acquainted with them and who may be aware of the details of the operations. But certainly as Prime Minister, I do not have any documentation that I can refer to on this matter. But everybody knows me, I'm an environment man, and I'm an animal welfare person, and I have no problem in if you can't feed my dogs late. You know, they have to be fed on time. They have to get the exercise. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not a person who, you know, when I'm done eating, if I have a bowl, I give to the dogs. This thing, we can't have animals like this and tied with. And no, we have to treat animals properly. But it is up to us as individuals in our society to play our part. Similar to the environment, similar to littering. You have litter laws. You have litter wardens. The laws for littering is robust. But we still litter in our nigger. So we have to change our whole psyche and our whole attitude to the environment, attitude to animals, attitude to littering and beautification, and have a more profound sense of pride in our surroundings, our environment, and be mindful of our actions. Because when we go to the United States, my dear, you go to the United States and you go into a vehicle, and the same people come to Dominica, they have a vehicle full of trash, you know, because they can't litter. But when they come to Dominica, they want to throw everything out of the window. You understand? Maybe we should do like Singapore. We should research Singapore, what they do for people who throw chewing gum on the ground. Serious laws in Singapore. I love Singapore. Thank you very much.
Coming back, really Sufria incident. My understanding is that Jonathan may have been a CBI agent. Is that true? And he is also the holder of a Dominican passport. will Dominica be considering, or will the government be considering revoking his citizenship? That is one. The Samoa agreement, you said that you were going to sign it. Have you signed it?
Samoa.
Yes, Samoa, sorry. And you also stated that you would be meeting with Archbishop Gabriel Malze. Have you met with him? And if you have, what was the outcome of that meeting? And the next one is the burning issue of the World Cup. Guy just messaged me, said, you're not asking that question? The World Cup, the lighting. One will agree, PM, that we fell short. A lot of, each and every Dominican would have profited something either way. The vendors, etc., etc. Where did we go wrong with that agreement? Because we gave a commitment to the ICC, and all of a sudden we seem to have dropped the ball. Where did we go wrong? And how are we going to correct that situation?
Okay, with regards to Mr. Leroy, he does have a CBI project. I said, in respect to his revocation, I will not want to comment on this matter. The second question about this, the third question about the Samoa agreement, we have not signed yet. I would like to hear from. I understand that some of the church leaders have been raging out there about it. I have urged them to submit in writing their concerns and the specific article and clause in the agreement that they have concerns with, so that we can have a more focused discussion about it. So I'm hoping that the church leaders from the Catholic Church and from the Christian Council and from the Evangelical Association can submit to us, okay, I read this document, I have an issue with article this, article that. I don't think Dominica should agree to this, I don't think Dominica should agree to that, so that we can have a more serious discussion on this matter. On the issue of the World Cup, we were committed to it, as you know. This is the first time Dominica saw international cricket under this Labour Party administration with the construction of the stadium and hosting. And we were committed to it. When we got the schedule for the installation of the lights, it would take us beyond May. And we did not want to go and sign an agreement. Sign an agreement and not fulfill the major component of the agreement, that is ensuring that the lights are fully in place to host the cricket. Now, we were discussing with Cricket West Indies, who had told us they were going to go back to the ICC to see whether they would host day games in Dominica, because people love to come to Dominica to watch cricket. That's the place where you get the biggest crowd. That's the place where Cricket West Indies say they make more money at the gate, irrespective of who's playing. And they were not able to get a concurrence on hosting the day cricket matches in Dominica. Dominica would have hosted 2 games. Okay, you have that, and then you have the other issue of the significant costs for hosting the game. The budget that was prepared by the Ministry of Sports would have been about $24 million to be spent before March 2024. Now, once you get this budget, you have to add a 15% on it in the event for cost variations and so forth. So you're already talking about close to $27 million to spend to host it. Now, some of the same people who I hear chastising the government for not going ahead with hosting the cricket are the very same people. This is a funny place, you know. Are the same people who chastise the government for giving the Cricket West Indies $750,000 US to host the last match in the West Indies match. Saying, why do we have to give Cricket West Indies money? That's too much money, and we could have better use of the money. You see what I'm saying? So, but people know us. We're committed to hosting international events in Dominica. We have spent a lot of money on those things. So we will proceed with the lighting project, and obviously we'll have more time to implement it because it is a need. And it is a commitment that we give them. As a matter of fact, as you know, we are sending the first phase of the project, so we're not committed to it. So we will certainly move ahead with the installation of the lights, but we do not have the time to. So you don't want to sign something and then we hadn't signed the final agreement with them. We had a letter of expression of interest to host, and out of that they agreed to have Dominica on. So I thank West Indies Cricket for the ICC for that. But we were concerned about the tight schedule for this. Even if they were saying to us that Dominica will be hosting the cricket later, and that we may very well be able to give you an extra month or so to implement. But the reality is we will be signing an agreement to have everything in place by May. And if you know that you're going to sign something, not being able to achieve it, then that's an issue. And the other question is the extent of the expenditure. You know, what do you do as the government in respect to those considerations? So I understand the emotional disquiet that people had. People were looking forward towards cricket and so forth. So I understand we share those same sentiments. That's why this stayed with us a long time before we made the final decision. You know, we're trying to see what are the best options we could get, if at all, and what are the things that we don't need to put in place to get it. Speak to West Indies Cricket. Can we host it without lights? Let me get back to you, etc., etc., etc.
Yes. A few more questions, sir. How much money has been spent by the government on housing contracts with AMS? Why were the hosting of contracts not subject to public tender? And somebody's asking, do you have any personal interest in MMC personally? And the next question coming there from the public, there's a lack of a registrar at the registry. We have not been signing documents there for the past 4 months. How do we intend to correct it?
Yeah, with regards to, we can get you the full details of the investments that we made in housing. Obviously, Matt, if you go to the estimates, you'll see those numbers captured in the capital estimates in the Parliament. And just to say to you that this is the first government, and CBI was there in Eugenia Charles' days, CBI was there in Edison James' days, but it is the first government where people know how the money is being spent where CBI is concerned. There's nothing that we can show that Michelle's did in 15 years that came from CBI that we know of. There's nothing in the country that Edison James left 4.5 years that anybody can see with the monies that they raised from CBI, all of these years of CBI. Nothing. Nothing. And in this country, the country is littered with investments from the CBI program. Littered. The revenues from CBI was never reported to the Parliament before this government came into office. Never. Never. So that's one. In respect to, they will provide you with the details of the amounts. In respect to my personal interest in AMC, I have no personal interest in AMC. We have partnered with AMC, and I make no apologies for that, to raise funds to help us advance a number of important infrastructural projects in Dominica. And they started with us by investing in the relocation of the entire Petit Saban. I just find that in Dominica that we appear to want to use people to an extent, and after we have an issue with them and so forth. And of course, they're working with us on international airport. And there are people who have raised concerns about AMC and international airport. And I've asked them, if you have a partner who can do what AMC is doing, I'll terminate the agreement with AMC if you want. Come. But this is why you asked the question about monies we advance to MC. We never advance money to MC. As a matter of fact, the first agreement we signed at MC for the Bellevue Shopping Housing, they offered to put about $10 to $20 million in escrow as a good faith. Say, look, if we think we're not serious, this is what it is. We didn't accept it back then. You understand? So let's come. But it's the same people who had issue when we brought Range to do the Kempinski Hotel. They're the same people who told Sam Raphael do not sign the government, and people criticize us for signing Sam Raphael to do the hotel down there. You know what I'm saying? So there's a consistency with seeking to put a dark clause over the major things that the government is doing in this country. And we are prepared to embrace everybody. As a matter of fact, we brought a developer to do a new government complex. Now, people believe that when you sign an agreement with the government, you have to wait many years to raise the fund and then start. No. The arrangement that we have with AMC is that the moment we sign an agreement with them, they start without even having $1 in the escrow account. They front load it. And which is, in our view, one of the better ways to mitigate any risk or liability on behalf of the Treasury. So, as it is now on the international airport, there is absolutely no sovereign guarantees on the funding for the airport. There is no liability associated with the Treasury of Dominica for the international airport in terms of financial commitment to the contractors. MC has to raise the funds. They have to get the authorization to pay out of the escrow account. And that's how it's done. So it is they who have the liabilities for the funding for the legal contract and so forth. And this is what it is. And if anybody who has any other person who believes they can build the airport for us, I'll tell them to MC and tell them go back to their country. But we are grateful to them for placing themselves in this financial and legal commitment to build the largest infrastructural project in our country. They partnered with us to build the Margaret Hospital. We would have had to find in excess of $50 million to build the Margaret Hospital. And then when we look at the cost of the equipment that we're going to come into, we asked them, would you be able to amend the agreement to buy the equipment? And they bought the equipment on the specifications of the Ministry of Health, all of the advanced equipment. Okay, but I have to run to another thing. Curtis, please, we'll ask you as a dean of the group of journalists. So.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Matt, watching me this morning will take my brother. I remember this before Curtis, but you're talk show now.
Your Prime Minister, you will agree that one of the disappointments for Dominica this year would have been the decision by the UK to impose visa restrictions on Dominica for Dominicans entering the UK. What is the position right now? Because they raised concerns about the citizenship by investment program. Where are we in terms of Dominica getting back to the UK without visa? And the final question, as the CARICOM chairman, Prime Minister Skerrit, one of your priorities would have been to get reform for the education systems in the Caribbean. Do you think that that probably was a very ambitious undertaking by you? And what would have been some of your major achievements as the chairman of CARICOM? Thank you very much.
Regards to the visa imposition by the UK, one gets the sense that the UK authorities feel a bit remorseful on the action. We continue to engage them as of recently last month. There was a delegation led by the Finance Secretary who met with the Home Office to discuss further the issue and the action that we've taken. We would have gone to Parliament last week, and laid on the table a comprehensive set of regulations to address some of the concerns that our partners may have with regards to the program, to enhance its security, enhance its transparency. So we continue to engage the UK on this, and that that discussion we will continue with the hope that they will reverse the decision on Dominica with regards to the visas. Okay. With regards to CARICOM chair and the education reform, unfortunately, we were not able to have it done during my chairmanship, but certainly I will continue to play a part in ensuring that it is done in the new year. We got distracted with so many critical matters. Haiti occupied a lot of our time and seeking to assist Haiti with its current security and humanitarian crisis, and that will certainly continue in the new year. The issue of accomplishments and so forth, I leave it to other people to decide. I play my part, I do what I have to do, and I move on to the next challenge. But it has been a very rewarding and very engaging 6 months as chairman of CARICOM, and we're able to achieve a number of crucial and critical things. Of course, the last being the engagement with Guyana and Venezuela. We moved from one extreme end where there was no contact whatsoever to the extreme end of meeting face to face, and both presidents signing on to a declaration to engage in dialogue and discussion. So, yeah, sure. So,
Sir, are you still stepping down next year, 2025? And next question is, you didn't answer my last question.
Which one? Oh, sorry.
And of course, our Council of Court is the one
Yeah, I know. My understanding is that the registrar.
Please, another question, just to wrap it up. What would you want to remember, your legacy? How would you want to be remembered?
All right. A lot of questions here. The issue of the registrar, it is. I think there are some administrative issues. Well, one, the registration leave, and I think the ministry is working out to have a person act. So I think the ministry is addressing this and so forth. So I agree there were some issues there, and of course that was compounded by the registrar of the High Court taking special leave. So we had to remove the acting registrar in the title by registration and send that person to the High Court, because you had to give priority to the High Court, and so that, and then you have to go through the legal process, the constitutional process of getting somebody appointed to act as a registrar. So, but I think that matter has been resolved by the ministry. The other question about my stepping down? When?
You said 2025?
Yeah, 2025. Yeah, we have some time. Yeah, 2025. So 2025. And then how do I want to be remembered? My legacy. I came into this thing as a young person to make my contribution. My main objective was coming to get Rosie Lagos as Prime Minister. I believe in Rosie. I believe in what he had planned for Dominica. So that was my main motivation for coming in. Of course, the vacant people asking for me to run some, and remember I had a scholarship to go back to study, to do a master's and a PhD in education, paid for by the World Bank. I'd gotten accepted into university, Columbia University. All I needed to do was to pay my ticket to go, to leave in 1998. And I asked them to defer to 1999. And then December 1999, the Labour Party wanted to test its strength and preparedness for elections. And they asked who wanted to get lunch. And Rosie directly told me I need to get lunch. So I got to know days before I'm supposed to get lunch. And I got lunch in December 1999. You understand? And I think that helped position the Labour Party to mobilize national support, because they saw what the crowd was like in Vegas. and this is where it all started. So I made a big contribution. So all I want to be remembered is that I love the Dominican people. I commit my life to Dominica. That's it. But projects and programs I do, that's the Lord's work. So I don't want to take credit for it. That's the Lord's work. The Lord has used me as an instrument, and He continues to use me as an instrument and so forth. But that's where it is. So I want to wish all of you Merry Christmas. Our culture. The Minister of Culture will respond to that. I think there were some contractual issues there. But my view, Matt, seriously, if I were the government, if I were the government, yeah, and if I were to advise the government, I would have never fixed the Iraq. I would have break this thing down and build a modern facility. They fixed in that old thing and you could plywood there, you could carpet there, and a new seat and so on. Iraq's every time, let us get to the modern times. Break this thing down a nice way, the young girls can go and do the ballet and thing and so on. And but the government insists it wants to fix the Iraq. So I said, go ahead and fix the Iraq. That's why you're having problems now, because you try to fix the whole thing. It's like you try to fix an old house. The more you fix, more you have problems. So it costs you less money and less headache to break this thing down, build it somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Where you have parking and somebody can come out there. When you come to Iraq and you dress with a nice gown, and you have to stop in the road there and rain wetting you and to go inside there. Come on, my brother. This is not the 21st century. But sometimes you guys don't allow me to do what I want to do for Dominica. Everything is a question. Everything is against. You free me up. you Dominicans free me up. Just tell Scary, just do what you want, my brother. The rest of the time you have there, just do what you want, my brother. We all go to Dubai, But everything you do, a road man have this, you do airport man do this, you do this man have that. Just free me up, man. Free me up for the new year. Free me up for the new year. Yeah, just tell Scary on your program, so do whatever you want, my brother. And we'll see what happens there. But I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas. I want to thank the media for this year. You've been gracious with your questions, respectful with your questions, and the engagement has been mutually respectful, and that's what we want. We try to answer your questions with the information that I have, and I do hope that I'll be able to answer your questions with clarity and with transparency. And of course to all Dominicans from all walks of life, and of course to my dear supporters out there in Dominica for you, and out of Dominica for wonderful year. And of course and all the power reps who are having so many Christmas parties and tree lighting ceremonies and so forth. So while you have been fighting in another organization, the Labour family bringing change, Christmas care, to everybody. So.
Leadership of the United Workers' Party?
That's Christmas time. Let me not say. As per Carnival time, I give you the real response. But Christmas time, you don't say anything about the man Christmas time after all. Christmas time, you see, Matt, we have to try to change the political culture in the country. Not because we're on different sides, we cannot meet and talk and exchange ideas, exchange views. I am completely and absolutely open to that. I have been completely and absolutely open to that all my years in government. I believe Dr. Fountain may want to meet me, but there are people who do not want, who think he should not meet me. And it's unfortunate. How you cannot not want to meet a prime minister of the country?
He just said last week on my show
Well, that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. I have reached out to him. No, I reached out to him. As a matter of fact, when this thing happened in Sudan, I was the first person in the whole world, to send a message to Dr. Thompson to ensure that he's safe. And I did it sincerely. Nobody will be there to the man, You see what I'm saying? And so I'm prepared to engage. If you have ideas and views, fine. What the leadership of the Union must understand, that it cannot beat Labour. Labour is still the best choice. So what I'm saying to us in Dominica, let us forget this political machinations and so on. And let us have a government of national unity. I can give them 2 seats or 3 seats in the thing. You know what I'm saying? There's one party run elections, one national party. This thing about divisiveness and so on. How you going to beat Labour? How? When? How? You can't know. So if you can't, the old saying, Matt, if you can't beat them, you join them. Merry Christmas, everybody. God bless.